Is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Connected car. Once just a figment of imagination, then the stuff of science fiction. We started calling it the car of the future, and today, definitely reality. And also so in the Indian context, which is what makes this revolution so exciting. The Internet of Cars. Yes, you might wonder what that's all about, but trust me, it's going to be coming to a car near you before you can even say Internet of Cars. And so given the fact that this is a whole lot of technology that's now coming onto four wheels, I have to very reluctantly introduce the first person who's sitting right next to me, that is Mr. Rajiv Makni, because of course I have to share this with you now.
This is it. I mean, there's more tech in a car than a room full of computers. A car is now the biggest gadget in the world. So Siddharth, we'll be doing this very, very often. So get used to this. And this opening also, that reluctantly, once again,
Maybe don't be reluctant after a while.
yeah, absolutely. So we've got so much to cover today, but if your question always was, what is the Internet of Cars? What's a connected car and how will it change your life? Well, you've come to the right place, because we've got a panel that will answer that and a whole lot more. The future of cars right now happening on this stage. So do you want to get started with the introductions?
So we've got a stellar lineup, of course, and to kick things off, first up from MG India, which is of course one of the OEMs that's kind of driving this change, no pun intended, is Rajiv Chava, who heads the brand here in India and is a auto industry veteran. With us also is Jürgen Haas, the CEO of Unlimit, and on his right is Zed Friso, who is the Vice President, Automotive Europe and Asia for TomTom. Krish Inbarajan is the Global Head Connected Vehicles at Cisco, and last but not least, Charles Kwai is the President for the Greater China region at Nuance. Gentlemen, thank you for being here, and as Rajiv said, what we are trying to get at the core of this discussion is how all of this changes people's lives. And Rajiv, I have to ask you then, first up, this is going to be confusing.
Yeah, this is going to be confusing as well. Rajiv, I have to ask you and bang.
MG, the fact that you're taking this whole connected car plank as almost your sort of entry into India, it's a bold move, it's exciting as well. Your strategy and the reasons behind that.
So I'm happy to get you guys connected in this forum of connected cars.
Yeah.
So I think we know very clearly, and I'll be very humble to say that our job is tough. It's not easy to establish a new car brand in our situation, in our market here, and there are some very established players, and many Western players, if I can say, have not been that successful in our country, and so that you know this better than me. And those brands are not in the consideration set of consumers. We are coming at a stage at that point of time in our life here where technology is merging a lot with everything what we do, in whatever way we do. So we have a unique advantage of starting this whole game in a very different way. And we are going to challenge a lot of established norms. We want to change, we want to have a new paradigm, and also we want to make technology as the foundation of everything what we do in this company. So here, we are starting with Internet car concept, which means basically that we have embedded SIM card for the first time in the country. We need to obviously follow the regulations of this country, but having said that, we still have a lot of scope and a lot of play within that. So in simple terms, it means we are always connected to the cloud. We, in terms of security and safety to consumer, we enhance services. In terms of entertainment, utility, we enhance. We have a lot of voice activation control. I have lots of partners to talk about that. And the thing is that, as Rajiv Makni, you said, that the car actually is going to be a platform in future, and you have lots of revenue services coming out of that. So I think it's a game changer, and we are happy that probably we are going to be the forefront of that. change in our country.
So before I move on, I have a quick question for you. So when you come in with a car like this, and you said it's a disruptor, it comes in as a platform changer, becomes a platform for maybe tech launches, who do you believe the right audience in India for a car like this is going to be? Are you going with the typical thing that most people say, it's the millennial who isn't brand loyal and therefore could jump brands, and that's why the focus is so much on tech?
See, I think that's a very interesting question. To be honest, I don't know the answer. It will evolve, and we are going to learn this whole thing together in this journey. But I think the questions which you are posing, frankly, are that is really brand that much important for millennials? What does it mean in terms of ownership to them? Really, do they want to own it? Or if they're owning it, then what kind of experience they want? Now, they want, so I don't want to spill all the beans right now, but we are going to have a 10.4 inch, the biggest ever screen in our country in the car, which is bigger than the tablet. So, and that's a touch screen. So you can really play with that, and you can call a pulse hub or a call center for any services. And if you go from point A to point B, our map partners will tell you that it's a smart mapping system in future in which they can tell you what's the best way to go from point A to point B. The car can recognize your voice, like Siri. You talk to Siri on Apple phone. Here you will talk to the car, and the car can learn your accent and your voice. So there are a lot of things in which millennials are interested. So frankly, yes, we also sell cars, right? So we will make sure that the car is good, competitive, fuel efficiency, power, blah blah blah. Usual parameters are competitive, but I think this will take the whole car experience to a new level, in my opinion. So I don't know exactly all the answers right now, but I think I'm happy that we are at the forefront and we are initiating this change.
And so I think to Hey Hector, I think instead of Hey Hector.
So before we get down to having a more detailed conversation with everybody on the panel, may I ask all of you in a very short, maybe sentence or two. So one of the things you said at some point in an interview was that 5G becomes really the big deal. I mean, with its low latency and what all it can do, the magic of 5G. But in India, we may be a little away from 5G. In fact, you said that you don't expect it to be out very, very soon. So does that make things slow down here, or are you very confident with the SIM card and everything else coming built into the car? Is that something that will take things forward much faster?
First of all, the architecture is allowing exactly this migration to the next generation for 5G. And for sure, 5G is a world changer in principle. All the new services which are coming up. But I personally believe 5G is more a long term, because it's not only you have much more bandwidth for streaming services, you have car-to-car communication. But these new services will come up, like the same like we have seen on the smartphone. New services are coming up again and again and again. It's more a journey than it's a big bang and 5G is there, where all the services are coming up. But they are in the future based on 5G. But you're right, it will take a little bit time before 5G is coming to India. But that's not critical. Let's start with 4G and going ahead.
Great, so that makes it so much better that we don't have to wait all the way to 5G. What about you? What is the role your company is playing to bring out the Hector?
Yes, TomTom is a pioneer in location technologies. With MG, we work on making the navigation system in the car daily relevant. And what does it mean is that you often know where to go from A to B. But our system, being connected in the car, really helps you along the route. Find the best place to get a coffee, or to avoid a traffic jam, or there's roadworks. The infrastructure in India is changing so much that it's really important to have a fresh map on board. And we are launching with MG IQ Maps, which is a way to keep your map up to date, really in the car. So the driver doesn't need to do anything to get that done. So it's the world premiere actually with MG here in India, so we're very proud to do that.
That's very exciting. And the interesting thing here is that a lot of that experience, which started with just simple plain vanilla navigation, then kind of moved to the smartphone because of real-time updates, especially traffic, is now moving back into the car. It's moving back into the inbuilt space, and that part then makes it better from a user experience point of view, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. So, like I said, daily relevance is very important, but people will only use the system if it's easy to use, if it's intuitive. And we proved over the years that we can make that happen. And your question about autonomous driving, right? Or that kind of technologies, that will mean that the technology needs to be in the car, right? Because you don't want to rely on your smartphone to drive autonomously in some way or form, right? So that's why it's also important to have the partners next to me and to make that happen. Actually, together we can bring that great experience to the Indian driver.
So no more propping up your smartphone and then for it to fall down on the floor and then you end up at a completely different destination, right? That doesn't happen anymore with this, right? So
That won't happen.
Can't wait to
Certainly
try
not.
it. Yeah, can't wait to try it.
So Cisco, of course, a world leader in everything tech, but the connected car and Cisco has also been a great play now. Can you take us through what kind of Cisco technology are we seeing inside this car?
Thanks, Rajiv. So the Cisco technology we're really talking about was an acquisition that Cisco made around 3 years back in March of 2016. And it was a company called Jasper. It's a software company which effectively works with wireless operators around the world. And we currently support around 40 million cars. And we started off saying it's about connectivity. I actually met the persons at MG in Detroit. So this was around 2 years back. It was through connections. We ended up meeting there, and then I was able to connect our partner in India, Unlimit, to them, and that's how the journey started. So we're able to kind of leverage the 40 million car experiences that we've got, with literally billions of miles driven, to figure out what not to do, more importantly than what to do.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, a car is essentially it's almost your second or your third place where you stay, right? Your home, your office, and your car. And it's important for you to feel comfortable and also safe within that. The Indian context is slightly different from most of the rest of the world because autonomous vehicles already here, meaning you have chauffeurs who are driving your car. So you actually have the ability for you as a person who owns the car actually not to really drive. So autonomous is actually here much ahead. But how do you then configure that experience within the context of India was how I've been able to learn about this. Connected Car, by the way, was actually brought me back to India to learn about the market. And through then it's been a journey about how to transfer what's happening in different markets around the world to soon what's going to be the third largest new car sale market in the world in another 2 years. So very happy that Cisco will be able to provide secure connectivity, real-time visibility, and innovation that can get what Rajiv was talking about from a platform that NG is building.
Okay.
So I'm going to use that, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that line about autonomous.
I was about to say, yes, that is such a... So
Please don't patent it.
You heard it here first. India is the first country in the world to have almost all autonomous cars without the technology that you really thinking about. I think that's a very interesting one to say. So, before we get down to what Nuance is doing for the Hector, you and I were having a chat off this platform, and you came up with a very interesting example of what tech can do for a car brand, and you were telling me about an example in China. Could you just tell us that story before we get down to the nuance of Hector?
Okay. Well, so Rajiv, thank you for that question. Just real quickly, Nuance is the leader in conversational artificial intelligence globally. So anything that deals with speaking, listening, reading and writing, and cognitive. And back in 2015 and 16, we partnered with SAIC Motors, which is one of the largest automakers in the world, parent company of MG. And we had a concept of how to actually invent an internet car. I like to call it internet mobility solutions. And with that, we launched the first internet car. It's Ni Hao Ban Ma, basically, on the road, which is the Chinese brand. And there was so much excitement, a lot of digital media excitement. What surprised us the most was, prior to this car's launch, most car makers recognized that the brand, or the quality, or the safety are the top 3 reasons why a consumer would buy a car. For this particular car, actually the brand, quality, safety did not rank number 1. Ni Hao Ban Ma ranked number 1 as for why the reason these consumers chose this car. And this car became the hottest, number 1 selling SUV vehicle in all of China. We hope to repeat the same thing here with our partners at MG. And what we have provided here is what we call the version 2.0 of what we've actually launched in China. So what we're seeing is in emerging markets like China, which is the world's largest automaker market in the world now, number one, twice as big as the US, India being the fastest, tends to leapfrog what the West has. So we don't have the legacies that what we had in the West. We're able to leapfrog, and the millennials and the younger generations were born with mobile phones on their hands. We're born with apps on their hands. And now with basically the experience shifting, Rajiv, like what we talked about, it's all about the experience, right?
You know when you're with friends, when you only use their first names.
Welcome, Benedict.
Hello, MG. MG Hector. It's a human thing.
Charles, I have to ask you, one of the reasons in the car space especially, voice commands haven't quite taken off like they have in some other parts of the world, of course, is the accent. I mean, that's one of the limiting factors. How different will this be from not just understanding the accent, but also being more intuitive to it, because it also has to work with things like maps. I mean, there are some places we can't pronounce sometimes.
That's a great question. So, unlike platform, what we have built here is what we call a hybrid architecture. It's both embedded and cloud. And we learned this from China, and we've actually started perfecting this in India. We know that the reliability of the network is unpredictable. So what we've moved a lot of the usage cases onto the car itself. So it doesn't really require internet connectivity. It gives you lightning speed, very quick response, and actually it's a better user experience. On things that need live traffic data, whether it is media or traffic or others, we tend to connect with the cloud. The second thing is we realize that even though we're launching this in English, Indian English is very different. The way that you pronounce P and B are different. So we actually rebuilt this thing with our team in China because we recognize that in our team in China there are different accents, there are different accents in India. So this is the first Indian English language pack in the world that we're launching here with MG. Hopefully it actually responds very well with the Indian consumers. To make sure that this thing works very well, we actually sent our user experience experts to travel with the MG team here in India. They're actually here. And we've also hired many of the Indian interns who are actually studying in China to rigorously test this thing. So we're quite excited about this.
So of course the most important thing that will happen is what will I be able to do with my voice in a car that I've never been able to do before?
Oh, there's so much you can do. So first, I consider a great product is a product that you can think about it, you can use it, and you can't live without it. So now we're actually thinking about it. The usage cases is where we're going to be traveling the journey in about the next 3 years. And after 3 years, I think that question will become, I can't live without it. In the car, the most important thing is what I call navigation of the content. So, for example, if you want to pick a restaurant, you may say, find me a restaurant nearby. Or maybe your wife may say, I'm hungry. Or maybe your son says, I'd like that pizza location. Different ways of actually interacting with the car. More seamlessly, more human-like, more natural. Instead of what I call a grid-based menu system, which prevents people from actually using it. So in the past, it was more grid-based because of computing power, but now we have a bigger computing power platform, which is our MG partners have put together. So we're able to have more what we call natural language processing, more human-like. The second thing is we're going to start building what we call a button-free. So you can actually control the car just from your voice. Opening a sunroof, opening a window, turning this, turning the radio to a certain location, dialing up your air conditioning. So what I call a button-free. So imagine like when Steve Jobs started the iPhone, he insisted no keyboards. So imagine if you have no buttons in your car, what would your car interaction experience be? It's very, very rich. Further beyond that, we are actually in process of building what we call roadmaps with our partner here, where we will add features like voice biometrics, which allows you to personalize the car. One of the most difficult things for me is when I go into my car, I'm about 6'1", my wife is like 5'1", So she always changes the seat. So imagine if you go in and say, hello MG, boss number 2 is in the car, everything gets readjusted for you.
Very clearly.
You meant yourself, right? Boss number 1 would always be her.
Boss number 2.
Of course not.
So these are the experiences that you could have. It's all about the user experience, the usage case, probably less about the technology, in my opinion, although we are technology.
So I have to tell you, the real question he was trying to ask is, will the car sound like himself? You know, he loves to hear the sound of his own voice.
No, I think that would be actually frightening. I speak to the car, and the car speaks back to me in my voice. No, that would be frightening. But the cool part
to me in his voice. It's all good.
But the cool part is that he said that I can now order a pizza by talking to my car, and most probably in a few years, then my car will go on its own and get the pizza back for me, right? So that's what we're looking forward to.
But that's where we're going with this, and I would like, Krish, for you to give us not necessarily a Cisco view on this, but more like a technology industry view on this. Today we're talking about how you are going to be speaking to your car, the car is going to talk to you. Very soon it's going to be about cars talking to each other as well. So how much of what you are putting in place today in terms of the framework of this technology needs to almost become universal, needs to be brand agnostic after a point so that it becomes an easier network of cars, as it were?
So again, let me talk about the first thing that also MG is doing with Hector. Safety is a very fundamental part of a vehicle overall, right? So that you're a car guy, right? You're a tech guy. But regardless of that, safety and lives are very critical. So what Hector is actually doing is making sure they can harness this technology in case of an emergency call, would actually send notification to their own call center. You would say, why do you need a call center? A human person is very important to take the call from a car that is in an accident or has some other issues. So technology is not just about everything snazzy and glitzy. It's about the fundamental thing to make sure the value of a life is going to be critical. And I would say MG is making a huge statement in this place, and actually they're the ones going to have an embedded car with a call center which can direct help to you. So as we get, taken away by technology, you've got to figure out what's important there. The reason I mentioned that is the question you asked about vehicle-to-vehicle communication.
Krish, if you don't mind, if I can add on to this particular point about the safety, and we'll be happy to know that in that kind of particular situation, we have 4 levels of safety. So God forbid you meet an accident. So what happens is, so we sense it in the call center, but we don't call it call center, we're calling it pulse hub, right? So we have a pulse hub, right? So that hub senses that you are in a problem. So immediately the car, there's an automatic call in your head unit. This is the head unit. So in your head unit you get a call. Now suppose you are not in a position to take the call. It will give a call back at your registered mobile number. Okay, you are not able to pick it up. The third level of safety is that it will go to an emergency contact number, let's say in this case your wife, right? The fourth level, if nobody is picking it up, from there automatically they will send the medical services to you at the spot where you are something. So your 4th level of safeties we are trying to provide in that, right? And likewise, when you talk about the pizza thing, so that's the emergency call system, but you have another call system, iCall, in which suppose you want to have a pizza, you want to order a pizza, and then you don't know where to go to. So then there's a button, you push it, so it again goes to Pulse Hub. Pulse Hub will call you back on your mobile phone, not on the head unit. Why? Again, safety. Because head unit you have to keep it free for any emergency services, not for pizza, right? So it will give you a call back on your mobile phone. And then so this is what do you want? And you say, okay, I want to go to pizza. Then you press the TomTom map. And then you set the map from the Pulse Hub on your machine and the car will take you to the nearest pizza place. So those kind of things, kind of concierge. But again, I don't want to overpromise on that part right now because we will learn the point of interest and stuff like that. So, but that's the journey we're embarking on.
Very exciting.
Sorry, so Chris, back to you for the
But the interesting thing, thanks Rajiv for that. So I was at OnStar General Motors, which has roughly around 15 million cars connected, and safety and security was a key aspect of it. What Rajiv kind of described took us around 10 years to develop to get to that extent, because there were no smartphones at that time, right? So what I think MG is able to do here is harness that entire capability and technology and process development and quickly bring that together at launch. That's amazing. That's absolutely powerful. So now getting back to your question about vehicle to vehicle, and also I think your question about 5G. I think 5G has a lot of things to do with vehicle to vehicle, because in that aspect you have low latency first. So vehicle to vehicle is about safety, right? It's to kind of tell somebody coming behind what could potentially be happening in around you. It's also about interacting with the traffic signals and all of that, right? So vehicle to vehicle, I would say, is very critical. There are a lot of things that could possibly be there, as Jürgen suggested, but we're still a ways off in terms of saying how could you actually do it. That's truly where network effect is very important. It's not about having MG cars alone be connected. It's about having all the other vehicle manufacturers connect. And in this context, it's not just four-wheelers. It'll have to be two-wheelers as well. Right? So the network effect is very important to kind of have vehicle-to-vehicle communication. But the underlying technology is like safety and making sure, so when I'm talking about safety, it's making secure connectivity. You cannot hack into that. So where Cisco plays a role is to make sure that you shouldn't be able to hack into that connectivity. You should also be able to measure the amount of data going back and forth. India has the lowest data rates in the world right now, right? However, even that is an investment that MG is making to bring forth, because there's a cost that other car manufacturers don't have to take into consideration. So you've got to be able to make sure it works, it's economical, and it's secure.
You know when you're with friends, when you only use their first names.
Welcome, Benedict.
Hello, MG. MG Hector. It's a human thing.